This is the tutorial for skill 6 of concept 19, computing with time. So sometimes you need to add or subtract units of time, and you must convert between units. For instance, here, if we're going to add 2 hours and 45 minutes plus another 45 minutes, what we end up having is when we add up the minutes, and that's what we end up doing. It's just like when we're adding time, it's just like decimals. If you were to add two numbers like 2.4 and 0.4, you would have to line up decimals and you have to add the place values. Well, it's the same thing with time. We can't add hours and minutes, so we have to add minutes and minutes. But when we do that, the 45 minutes and the 45 minutes make something more than an hour. We end up with 2 hours and 90 minutes. 45 and 45 make the 90. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to see that there are 60 minutes in an hour. And so if you look at this, what they did is they took 90 minutes, and if we write that over 1, we're going to multiply that by a way of converting that. So we're going to end up trying to cancel out the minutes here and seeing how many are left. So you see how we have to divide the number of minutes in an hour, 60 minutes, into 90. And so when you do that division, you end up with this. So 60 goes into 90 one time, and when we subtract, you see how there's 30 minutes left over. The remainder is the remainder of minutes. So we have to add that 1 hour to the 2 hours we already had. So the 1 plus the 2 made the 3 hours with the 30 minutes remaining. So 3 hours and 30 minutes. So the other type would be if we subtract. And here we start with 8 hours and 12 minutes, but if I want to subtract 3 hours and 27 minutes, again, I have to line up the units that are the same. But here's the problem. Can't take 27 minutes away from 12 because we end up with a negative number. So just as the case if it were like 2.4 minus 0.8, I can't subtract 8 from 4, so I have to borrow. So I borrow from the 2, change it to a 1, and then add a whole number of 1 to the 4, or the 4/10, and do the subtraction this way. So we'd be with 1 and 6/10 in this case. Well, we do the same sort of thing with this other problem. We have to borrow from the 8. So that's what they did here. They changed the 8 to a 7, and that's why they wrote 7. And then they added 60 minutes to the 12 minutes, because 1 hour is 60 minutes. So 12 plus 60, that's how they got the 72. And so then they can do the subtraction. So they subtracted the 72 minutes from 27, got 45 minutes, and 7 minus 3 made 4 hours. So 4 hours and 45 minutes. So let's practice some problems similar to that. So here we are. We got 12 hours, and we have, it says we're going to rename it, so we end up subtracting 38 minutes from this 12 hours. So what we want to do is borrow. We want to borrow from the 12, and we want to change that to an 11. So that's the hour that's going to end up going here. And so we add that hour in minutes to what we have right here. Well, we have no minutes, so that means it's just 60 minutes. So that's why they put 60 right here. And then we can do the subtraction. So when we go ahead and subtract out that 60 from 38, we've got to borrow a little bit, change that to a 5, and we end up with 22 minutes. And we go ahead and subtract the 11 from 0, or 0 from 11, and we end up with 11 hours. So 11 hours and 22 minutes is what we end up seeing for that one. So let's take a look at the next one. And here we have 9 minutes and 5 seconds, and we're subtracting 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So we can't subtract the 40 seconds from the 5 seconds, so we have to borrow. That's what we're going to do here. Borrow from the 9, change it to an 8. And that's why I put 8 minutes here. Well, what's the seconds going to change to? Well, if I borrowed 1 minute from the 9 here, I need to add that 1 minute to the seconds. So I know there are 60 seconds in a minute. So that's why I'm going to add 5 plus 60, and that's where I'm getting the 65 from here. So again, there's 60 seconds equals 1 minute, and so that's why I added the 60 to the 5 seconds. So from this point, now I can do the subtraction. So we go ahead and subtract, and here I end up with 25, and then here I end up with 5. So 5 minutes and 25 seconds. So let's use those concepts to do these problems here. Here I'm adding, so I go ahead and just add away. So 8 plus 3 gives me 11. Carry a 1, so that makes 3 and 5 make 8, plus 1 makes 9. So I got 91 minutes. And I have 2 plus 3 makes 5 hours. So 5 hours and 91 minutes. So I want to change that 91 to a whole number of minutes, or a whole hour in there, and take out that hour from the 91. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide 60 into 91. Well, I see it goes there one time. I do the subtraction, and I'm left with 31 minutes. So I've got 1 hour and 31 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and add that 1 hour to the 5. So I go, the 1 plus that 5 gives me 6 hours. So I'm going to end up with 6 hours and 31 minutes. So let's take a look at another example similar to that. And here it is. We've got 4 minutes and 17 seconds, and we're adding 2 minutes and 48 seconds. So I go ahead and add away. I end up with a 5, carry a 1, 15 that is, and then I add that together, I get 65 seconds. And here I add these numbers and I get 6 minutes. So I want to find out how many minutes is in 65 seconds. So I'm going to divide 60 seconds into 65 seconds. And I see it goes one time with 5 left over. So that makes 5 seconds left over after the 1 minute I took out. So I'm going to add that 1 minute to the 6 minute there. So I'm going to add these two numbers, and that's where I'm getting 7 minutes. And I have, looks like just 5 seconds left over. And so there it is, 7 minutes, 5 seconds. So here's a subtraction problem. Can't subtract because 50 is bigger than the 22, so I'm going to borrow 1 hour away from the 6 hours, and change that to a 5, and then I'm going to add that 1 hour to the minutes. But there's 60 minutes in an hour, and so that's why I now have 5 hours, and 60 plus 22 gives me 82 minutes. And so now I can go ahead and subtract the 4 hours and 50 minutes from that 5 hours and 82 minutes. So now I can go ahead and do that subtraction. I'm left with 32 minutes, and over here I subtract and I end up with 1 hour. So 1 hour, 32 minutes. That would be our answer. So those are the types of problems you're going to see on Concept 19 Skill 6. Good luck.